Welcome to the No Bullshit Podcast for Contractors. Today we're going to talk about three key principles in the next little bit here that's going to help you big time multiply the amount of A players that you can find. In all honesty, it's really the three principles to find and get top talent in as little as 20 minutes here. All right, so we will catch you guys on the flip side, maybe less than that, maybe more than that, whatever. Okay, and that's what we're going to cover off. So let's get into it. You guys are going to be able to apply these principles real time and some of these strategies. Even I'm going to have you pause this podcast and put a couple of them into play. All right? Okay, guys, catch you on the flip side.
We're all after the same mission. Get our business to be the vehicle that pays for our freedom. To take our life to the next level. You know, doing is one part of it. Who do you need to be is super, super important. You got to know what's going to give you the results specific to you. The ones that have the quickest impact, the quickest results with what's going on in your business right now.
What's up, people? What is up, you entrepreneurs, you crazy bleep and bleeps? Hope you guys are having a great day. This is Andrew Houston from the No Bullshit Podcast for Contractors. And what we're going to talk about today, guys, is I think a topic that's come up quite a bit over the years of recent. And it is this golden question of how the heck do you find great talent? So that's what we're going to get in today. It's going to be, here are the three principles we're going to cover off today that's going to exponentially change how you can get top talent. All right, so let's get into this. This is going to be short and sweet. Probably 15 minutes or less. So stick with me. I do this usually on most podcasts in the beginning where I talk about whether or not you should be sticking on this baby or whether you're at the right place. So let's just touch on that really quickly. My mission is to go under the hood to give you guys the tricks. That's those are things that those are those little bugs that my beautiful wife is quite paranoid about. We bought this new farm. So I'm going up in the bush all the time with my son and my daughter, and I guess these ticks are a big bad thing about getting Lyme disease. I know it's not any joke, but anyways, I laugh at it from time to time. Anyways, so we're talking about tricks. Okay, we're talking about under the hood stuff that's going to help you guys with this topic. If you're not looking at hiring people, if you're not looking at growing your contracting business, you're at the wrong place. So you might want to jump off. If you're not a contractor, probably want to jump off because I'm going to be talking specifically to people that are trade-related businesses, plumbers, HVAC, plumbing, insulation, builders, framers, you name it. Anybody that's in the trade, sheet metal, whatever. And we're going to be talking about some simple principles you can walk away with today with some tactics to dramatically increase your chances of finding A players. So first principle, okay? First principle I want you guys to really understand is this one. You always, and I mean always, need to be hiring. Too many times, guys, we get into the situation and you're like, what does that have to do with finding talent? It has a lot to do with it because here's the thing. If you're out there and you're against your competition, right? And your competition, you got other contractors in your area that are looking for skilled people. Now, by the way, skilled people, let's be clear about this. I know geez, my tongue is twisted today. I heavily emphasize when we're talking about finding and hiring people, about finding skilled tradespeople. But it's skilled people, period, right? Skilled people in the office, skilled people on the accounting front, skilled people on the operations front, right across the board, okay? But especially this applies to skilled tradespeople because skilled tradespeople are becoming harder and harder to find and attract. And there's lots of reasons for that. Some of the reasons is that, millennials, Generation X, even the generations that come after the current generations, they come from a different loin, I guess, of upbringing and environment. And I'm not going to get heavily into that, except to say that, people don't really want to get their hands dirty today. People don't really appreciate, the working with their hands type of environment. And that's just the brutal truth of it. Okay. We can get into it in a different podcast as to the reasons why, but let's deal with let's figure out how we can deal with, getting more people. And one of the key ways, coming back to my example, is that if somebody else it doesn't matter what you pick, right? If somebody else is looking at hiring all the time and you're only looking at hiring when you need somebody, they're going to have a much higher chance of finding somebody than you are. So there's a couple of reasons that you always want to be hiring. You always want to be hiring because there's always an improvement that you can have in finding A-grade talent. In other words, you can have people right now that are working for you. And, I really hope this is the case. Hopefully you've got at least some of these people that are A players. They're really talented. They're willing to work hard. They're accountable. They take ownership. They take responsibility for their actions. They're proactive. And A players, they love to be measured. They love competition. They love to always grow. And that's all fine and dandy. But with that being said, there's always better people out there, right? There's people better than me in certain aspects of business. It's just the way that it is when we're talking about the whole world, right? So you always want to be looking at your roster, right? Just like if we're looking at sports, we've got this roster of players. And if all of a sudden some really, really talented person came in front of you, at least you have the option to compare them against the people that you have to say, hey, maybe these people, this person could be better than the person I have. Either A, let's, add them to the team and they can help the rest of the team grow. B, you could let go of one of the people that you have that might be a C or D player, or even B player, or even like a low grade A player, and bring in this top grade person that can leapfrog you, exponentially in production and efficiency and their ideas and their knowledge. But if you're only hiring when you need people, it's like water. It's like drinking water. They say that when you drink water, by the time that you are thirsty, by the way, let me have a drink of water here. Got my big jug here. By the time you drink water, your body's already starting to go into some form of dehydration. So that's why you should be drinking water as consistently as possible, because your body's saying that you're thirsty because your body needs more water, right? So in that moment, you're a little bit already behind the eight ball. Well, you always want to be hiring a team because it gives you the ability to see the talent that's out there, to execute on the talent that's out there before anybody else. And it gives you the ability to up your roster and the quality of your team. So number one principle, always be hiring. Now, with the caveat, that doesn't mean that you got to be hiring at the same level and the same, with the same amount of pressure, with the same amount of commitment, all the time. I mean, but you always need to be hiring. You always need to be putting an ad out there. The other reason is and we're going to get into some of these specific strategies and how you can find people. But we got to deal with this number one principle is when you are seen out in your environment as always hiring, and with, so long as you approach it the right way, people are going to see that your business is growing consistently. Again, so long as it's positioned the right way. Okay. If you're always hiring because you're losing people because you can't keep them, okay, well, that's another problem. That's a leak in the bucket of building an A team that we've got to solve. That's not what we're going to be touching on today. Going to touch on that probably a little bit on the next podcast. Actually, on the next podcast, we're going to talk about how to ethically steal from your competition. And if you're looking at this has been on the back burner for a while because we've had a lot of amazing growth that's happened. So, other priorities took place, but this baby is coming out, guys, before the end of the year. How to steal your competitors' tradespeople ethically. Okay. So I'm going to touch a little bit on this book that I'm going to be releasing soon. amazing content in here. Goes into a lot more depth, tools and templates in here beyond what we're talking about. So if you want to get a copy of that, join what's called the Contractor Tips group. The links can be below. And once you get into that, again, get asked a couple of questions to fill in, because we only want the right mindset of people in there. There's over 7,000 contractors in there getting great insights and tips and tricks, and tools and what have you. But once you get in, okay, you want to just type in, hey, Andrew, can I get a copy of that book? And that way, when we release this, you guys can get, get your hands on it first. So always be hiring is super important. Okay. Next principle that we want to look at here is you need to put as many lines in the water as possible. Again, I'm Mr. Analogy here. I love it because that hopefully makes it easier for you to understand. So in today's analogy on this point, and this principle, I want to talk about like going fishing. It's a fact. You could have the best fisherman in the world, the best skilled person, and say he's able to catch fish better than you. But if you're able to put 100 lines in the water with different bait, with different lures, different hooks, if we're looking at increasing the ability of catching as many fish as possible, you're going to kick that pro's ass, because no matter how good they are, they can only catch one fish at a time. You're able to catch 100 fish at a time. And that exponentially increases your chances. So let's talk about some of these lines in the water. When I say lines in the water, that means like, what are the different ways that you can, find these top talent, or, the top talent that's out there. So I'm going to go through this list, and I think I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 6. I got a lot more strategies than that, but I'm just going to touch on these 6 specific strategies that you guys can use. Pick whichever one resonates the most with you. When I'm giving you these strategies and tips and tricks, different strategies, different tips are going to resonate more with some people than others, and vice versa. I don't want you to get too hung up today on, Andrew said it in this order, so I'm going to go in that order. No, if you're not doing it, go in the order in which it's the easiest for you to execute on. That could be resource-wise, that could be skill set-wise, could be confidence-wise, could be all of those things. Because I would rather you get progress on this than getting everything, in a specific order. Okay. There's times for us to take action. And when it comes to finding people, you've got to take action like right now. Like after this call, hopefully you're going to take some of these strategies, some of these tips, and you're going to, relook at your hiring process specific to finding skilled people. And again, on the next one, I'm going to be, touching on, specifically going deep into how to ethically steal from your competition, what copy to use, what language to use, all those kind of things. But for today, let's just get you some of these strategies. All right. So one of the ones that might not surprise you is media. Now there's 2 parts of this. There's more than that as far as strategies, but again, I'm trying to hone in on the ones that I'm very confident that will work for everybody listening in on this if you're a contractor, okay? Social media, there's 2 parts that you got to look at for today. We've got to look at one called your reputation, and the other one we got to look at what's called geo-targeting, okay? So let me just touch on both of them. People need to find you, and people are always looking to find you if you give them the opportunity to find you. So if you're not always hiring, if you're not always out on social media, sharing with people that you're out to hire, sharing with people even beyond that, what your reputation is. So let's talk about reputation, then we're going to talk about geo-targeting, okay? These are 2 different strategies we want to use on social media. Reputation is key. I mean, think about it. I probably used this analogy or before is, imagine imagine it's your anniversary, okay? Or you've been dating a person for a while and you're like, oh man, I'm going to take this person on this trip and we're going to have this, really good time. We want to take the relationship to the next level, or just reinvest into the emotional bank account, of your relationship. And you're like, okay, I'm going to take this person on this trip or a trip. So you go buy this trip and the person, you give them the card or whatever, give them the roses, what have you. And you say, hey, we're going to go on this trip. And it's because I want to spend time with you. And I want to, create the spark again or keep the spark going, whatever. Okay. Keep the romance happening. And then that person goes and finds out that the place that you're going to, okay, has been condemned, or the place that you're going to is rated as far as reputation like a 1-star because everybody recently that's gone there has gotten food poisoning, or there's been a revolution going on there, or somebody got shot, or the security is terrible, or like people's wallets are getting stolen all the time. Like think about that. Like that's whether or not that's true or not for that place. That is the perceived reputation that your spouse or partner is going to be looking at going, what the hell did you sign me up for? So it went from the right intent to now it's having the wrong outcome. That's the same thing with your reputation. You have got to be seen out there as the company that people want to work for. And that means also that means the reputation of how your clients see you. Because here's the thing. A players that are out there looking for a change do not want to work for a company that has got a bad reputation with customers that's going to make them look bad. They also don't want to work for a company that, doesn't look like it's fun to work for, that it's not, that the owner doesn't take care of their team. And social media allows you to do that. Now, the reality is that social media automatically has these scorecards. And let's just use Google. Google, whether you like it or not, is there. Like if you could say, hey, I don't want to use Google. I don't want to use technology. I got enough work right now. I'm going to fucking tell you right now. If you do not use, the tools that are right at your fingertips, and by the way, this is free stuff. Okay. Like you can use Google and get a great reputation. There's systems and software that we share with our, NEV family members of the Champion CO group as part of Profit Contractors. We can share with you and connect you with people that can do this stuff for you and do it right. As far as building up your reputation. But regardless, a good starting point is just getting your clients to go and talk about you as far as, how good of a job your team has done. And it costs nothing for them to go and post those comments on Google. It costs nothing to really, next to nothing. The phone, I'm using my iPhone right now to do this podcast. Imagine that. Like the camera quality in this thing is better than the Canon EOS 80D that I've got, that I paid like almost $2,000 for. And I'm using my phone. Like all your employees can be posting, on social media on what it's like to work at your place. There's a whole array of different ways of doing it, but you've got to get your reputation up there. You got to get your reputation to be seen, and so that people like the reputation that they're seeing. And here's the other thing. I'm going to segue a little bit into the next podcast about ethically stealing. Imagine an A player that's looking, and by the way, the A player that's looking, more than likely their spouse or partner is looking for them as well. Okay? When an A player gets informed that the reputation of your company compared to the current company that they're currently working for is way better, I'm going to tell you right now, that will get them to be thinking, that will get them to seriously consider applying for a job at your place if you're always hiring, if there's a way for them to interact and do that. Okay. So get your reputation up there. Okay. Go check it out right now. That's one of the strategies I'd get you to do right now. It doesn't cost you anything. Like right now, like pause this podcast, go on to Google, even just, forget about Facebook for a moment. Just go on to Google, type in your business and see what rating you have. Okay. We're going to get more into this in future podcasts on exactly what you can do and what software you can use for reputation marketing and stuff like that. But your reputation has got to be there. Next one is geo-targeting. Geo-targeting is all about you're taking social media like Facebook and you're able to target ads. Again, I'm not going to talk about how to do it. I'm trying to give you guys, again, trying to keep this nice and short and sweet, this podcast, on how. So what geo-targeting is it allows you to take Facebook and geo-target, so geo being geography, right? Like, so in a certain area. So say you're in a certain city or a certain town, you can go and find out where your competition is. Okay. And again, I'll touch a little bit more on this on the next podcast, in ethically stealing from the competition. That means ethically, you can do it in a good way, in an okay way, not in a bad way. So when we look at this, it allows you to target a specific geographical area, pinpoint exactly where your company is. And any of those employees that are on Facebook, you can send ads to them to let them know that you're hiring. And that is huge, guys, freaking huge. Think about picking all the companies in your area. Go on the Yellow Pages. Like, seriously, Yellow Pages is sort of old school, right? And I'm not even talking old school in the sense of like the book, but Yellow Pages is become old school online because of Facebook and Instagram and so many other platforms that are sort of overtaking it. It's still pretty good, okay? So long as you're getting an ROI on your marketing and using it, go for it. But use it to your advantage when it comes to geo-targeting, okay? And going after your competition's team is you type in, go in the Yellow Pages, type in your area, right? Say we took Toronto or New York City or whatever. Type in, electrical contractors. If you're an electrical contractor, you see hundreds, if not thousands, in some of these cities. In towns, it's probably dozens, if not, 100 or whatever. Could be 10, 20, 100, whatever. Electrical contractors, if we're targeting electricians. Now you know who the competition is. Now you can take Facebook and you can hire somebody to go and target on Facebook so that popping up on these, on the phones of these prospective A players, electricians or plumbers or framers or whatever, is your ad. Like, that is freaking unbelievable. And yet 90% of contractors out there, they don't even use technology. It's crazy. Okay. And you don't need to do it all yourself. You can hire people to do this kind of thing. We've got lots of contacts, champion CEOs out there. If you're looking for contacts in how to do this, there's some training on it with some of our alliances that will do this no problem for you. Okay. So next is first finding people. Use your team that you've got, incentivize them. A players want to hang with A players, and by the way, don't get if you got a C or D, in other words, can't deal with team member or a deadbeat team member, even a basic team member, and they're not performing, and you're pretty certain it's because of them, like as a person, because of their attitude, that they don't fit with the team, let alone skill set. Don't be asking them for help, because they're going to bring more C players, D players, B players. Reach out only to your A player or A players to try and help you find more A players, because A players hang with A players, okay? And incentivize them. And you might be incentivize them, Andrew. Yeah, think about how much is one employee, an A player, worth to you? How much can you make off them? How much could they take off your plate? So you can work on higher value things. Like, try and get a gauge of that and write that out on a piece of paper someplace. Like, if these people work 40 hours a week and I'm able to charge out this much, and I'm able to make this much. This is why you got to know your numbers. Holy shit. I could give out $2,000, to one of my A players or a couple of my A players to find more players if they know any. And that would be like chump change. I'd have that paid back within like a week or two. So look at it as an investment, and look at it as a great way to incentivize your other A players, to give them an opportunity to build more of an A team. Okay. So that's another one. You definitely want to leverage your suppliers. Okay, go to your suppliers. Your suppliers want you to be successful. Okay, they want you to buy more product from them. They want you to hire more people. They want you to hire more A players, because more A players means people that are more typically organized. They're more skilled. They got a good attitude. They're going to show up at the counter when they're ordering material. They're going to know what it is that they need. They're not going to make it a nightmare for a supplier hey man, you ordered me the wrong part. Meanwhile, it was the team member. They're going to want to work with the suppliers. Okay. And suppliers are going to want to work with them. So it's in the best interest of your suppliers that they try to help you find A players. And they also have their ear to the ground, right? They know they have how many tradespeople come through their door that work for a company, that they know who the A players are based upon how they perform, how they communicate, how they work with the supplier. And they also hear sometimes through the wind and the grapevine of how unhappy some of these people are. So get their ear, get them to help you, incentivize them as well. okay, in some form or fashion. Again, you don't want to overstep the boundaries and do illegal things. There's some fine lines there, but use your suppliers to help you be more successful so they can be more successful and you can get more A players to help them to become more successful, okay? Out of town. Let's talk about out of town. Too many times, whether it's through suppliers, through its ads, social media, whatever marketing you're going to be doing, we limit ourselves to like just our geographical area. There are people moving all the time. You know, like I've gotten into hunting. I'm right now hunting, you know, whether you support it or not, it's okay, totally cool. But we're hunting geese, okay? Like Canadian geese, and there's a lot of them. But what are they doing right now? They're migrating. Right? They're migrating because there's a better environment for them that's warmer, because here in Canada, especially here in Ottawa, man, she's going to get pretty cold in the wintertime. So they're like, I'm getting the hell out of here. Well, for whatever reason, that happens with people, right? They move. You don't know it. Don't limit yourself to marketing outside of your area. There's a lot of people that move for a lot of different reasons. So make sure you tap into that. So, you know, last one is have a party, have an event. Now you might be like, oh, we got this COVID thing, you know, what the hell? You can have smaller events. At least that's the way it is right now here. You know, consider the logistics and legal aspects of it in your area, what the rules and regulations are. But, you know, get together with 5, 10 people and have a get together. So you can have a party or an event and market it as such. Get your suppliers to come, maybe a couple of them, get them to bring one of these other A players. Maybe that's going to be a little bit too risky for them. I don't know. But again, get one of these, maybe get some of your team members to bring a friend of theirs. There's lots of ways of, you know, getting these people to show up. You don't have to go big. You know, the smaller you go, the more one-on-one time you're going to have with them, the more, the better the relationship and ease of discussion is going to be. So going smaller, in my opinion, is better. And those are the ways. Okay. So principle number 3 is make it easy for them. Okay. So we talked about always be hiring. This principle number 1. Talked about, you know, put as many lines as the water as possible. And the third one is make sure that your process is easy for them, especially during these COVID times and times of like people feeling unsecure, unsafe, all that kind of stuff. So you want to go virtual. It's huge. It's huge. Now there's a whole array of different things that you can leverage using Zoom and other technologies. We use Zoom big time. It's awesome. It's cheap. It's effective. It's so easy to use and functional. Maybe there's something better out there, but we use Zoom. With, you know, all you family members out there of PFC, you know how well Zoom works, right? And so make it easy for them. So when you engage with these people, let them know that, you know, a way for them to engage with you is through technology. Okay. If people are aware that you're looking out for their safety and that you've got systems in place from even the hiring process of it, let alone them working for you, to improve their, safety, de-risk, the risk of them getting COVID, give them the flexibility to do these interviews and have these discussions with you, over Zoom versus having to drive to an office, all the rest of that kind of stuff. And especially for those of you that are looking at leveraging, if you haven't already, and leverage Zoom for, having your team members leave directly from home, you increase your billable hours, having team meetings, virtually so that, you don't have to wait for everybody to come to the shop and waste time. The material can be delivered to, the job sites, and it just allows for a lot more flexibility. It allows for a lot more safety. And when your prospects can see that through all these other mediums I talked about, social media, whether it's through the geotargeting, through your reputation, things of that nature, not only are they going to be interested, but their spouses and family members are going to see that you're an owner, a champion CEO that's looking out for their best interests. Okay, so everybody, this has been another great podcast. Had a great time chatting with you guys about this. Take these principles, put them into action, pick one of them. Okay, you don't have to pick them all. 3 principles we talked about was always be hiring. Principle number 2 is put as many lines in the water as possible. Principle number 3 is go virtual with your process so that you can, so people are willing to engage with you, right, in a safe environment. And that's going to go a long ways, as we talked about. Next podcast, we're going to be going deep in, just to let you guys know, is specifically talking about the copy, talking about the language, talking about the marketing, talking about the mindset of these prospective A players, that we've got to be able to communicate to them in a way that makes them go, holy shit, like, stop the brakes. I got to call this guy, or man, I got to show this to my wife, or, oh, I need to apply there, right? Whatever that is, in other words, get the fish. If you're fishing, get the fish to swim to the boat before you even put the line in the water. That way, when you put it in the water, you'll be able to pick which ones you're going to let on the line. Okay. And that's what we're after here. So that's what we're going to be going deep into in the next podcast, heavily leveraging some of the stuff that's in the book that I've yet to release. It's going to happen. I know I brought it up before, which is how to steal your competitors' tradespeople ethically. We'll touch on some of that. And again, click the link below if you guys want to get some insights on what we just covered off today. And if you want to get your hands on that book at some point in time when I release it next month or so. And that's the link below. Go to the Contractor Tips group. Join a great community of over 7,000 people. And that's it. And that's all, folks. So we'll catch you guys on the flip side. Till next time. Catch you later. Andrew Houston from Profit Contractors with the No Bullshit podcast for you guys. Later. Welcome to the No